Today I would like to touch upon a very serious and yet important subject, the concept of victims versus predators. To be honest, it makes me a little bit nervous to talk about it, as it can be a very sensitive topic, and it is certainly set up for a lot of misunderstandings. But I do my best to be as clear as possible in expressing myself here. The first thing I want to really point out is that I'm not talking about victims of crimes or people who commit crimes. I would rather just stick to talk about a certain attitude towards life, a concept, a way of being in the world. The concept of victim and predator as such seems to be very black and whitish, very rigid. There are those of us who can't help but hurt and destroy other people in their lives. And there are those that can't help but be destroyed. Let me explain. I have never encountered anyone in my life who would just stand up and say, "Hi, my name is blah, and I'm a predator." That would require a huge amount of self-reflection and self-awareness. But I know those people do exist though. But mostly, there's a lack thereof. Most people think they are right in the way they behave and others are to blame. That could make them predators and victims in one person at the same time, depending on whom they interact with. And then there are people with an attitude of being a constant victim. People who walk through their days thinking the world is against them and everyone is out to get them and to hurt them. They feel very helpless, very passive and reactive, and blame anyone and everything else for their own misery. Can they do no harm to others, ever, and hence behave like a predator? I'm not so sure about that. I believe that every one of us can do something right here and wrong there. And we probably do so all the time, sometimes more and sometimes less, and sometimes more aware and sometimes less aware. It's not as black and white. And we cannot do something about the outside world necessarily, but we can always do something about our responses and our own actions. No one is either a predator or a victim. We can be both or neither. When we look, for example, at unhealthy or toxic relationships, people often define themselves as the victim of the predator, which is their partner, which automatically turns them into someone who is not able to act in any way and is just at the mercy of their partner. The German language, which often tends to be very precise in trying to describe certain things, offers a different word than victim, which I personally find more suitable. In German, we say someone is betroffen. He or she is a Betroffener, Betroffene, which basically translates best, I would say, into being affected by something or someone. Maybe it's just my personal feeling, but to me, it seems being affected by something still gives me possibilities to act, still gives me the power to react in a specific way. Whereas when I call myself a victim, there's just nothing left I could do. And I would rather believe that we all have the power to act and to react. Please let me know your take on this in the comments. I would be very interested in how you see this. When we go back and look at toxic relationships, often a couple creates a certain power dynamic over time and defines the relationship through those. And we also see this in bigger contexts like work environments or school environments or any kind of group of humans. Everyone carries a certain amount of personal history through life, ambitions, intentions, experiences, frustrations, fears, insecurities, anger, certain belief systems and ways of thinking. And from this, our point of view, we behave in certain ways in certain circumstances. And sometimes we show our less than positive sides to the world. Sometimes we lash out and act angry. Sometimes we are less than polite. We judge, we gossip, we talk others down. It can happen deliberately or not deliberately at all. However, we are not angels. And I wouldn't say per se that this makes us a predator as such. Other people behave much more passively, more internal, more introverted, more shy, and more silent from their point of view of the world, even though they also feel angry, frustrated, and on the darker side of things. That doesn't make them a victim, does it? I think most of us have been deeply hurt in the past, in one way or another, and develop strategies to go through life in the best way possible. Some compensate for their hurt and insecurity by bullying others, trying to be on top of everything and everyone, appearing overly confident, developing a lack of any feeling that can leave them vulnerable, lack of empathy for others, in order to never being hurt again. They kind of create an armor, a mask for themselves to stay protected as a person. Others use more self-destructive strategies. They lash out against themselves, for example. They treat themselves like shit and hurt themselves physically, emotionally, and mentally. They try to become invisible because that is certainly a much safer place to be. It is safe not to be seen. No one can hurt you then, right? When I think of people with a healthy sense of self, healthy self-esteem and confidence, people who feel grounded in their being and at peace with themselves, I can't think of them as predators or victims of something or someone. They do not spend their days contemplating ways of hurting others to feel superior to them. They don't think of hurting themselves either, because they cherish who they are. And I also think they are not easy prey to personal attacks. 90% or even 95% of our communication is happening on an unconscious level. We see someone and we kind of know, mostly not even consciously, just by the way they hold themselves, what they are sending out. And it tells us something about the way they feel about themselves. Often I hear sentences like, I always attract the wrong people. I always have the wrong partner. The ones that I want are not attracted to me, and so on. But as often, people do not see that it might have something to do with them and their attitude. But I want to be very clear here. I am not talking about blaming anyone here. It's not about blame at all. It is just to understand that we are all a result of our upbringing, our circumstances, experiences, and so on. We all learned strategies and developed patterns through time to get us through life that were very useful at the time when we developed them. But now, with us being grown-ups, we can understand that we have much more influence and power as to how we want to be, how we want to go through life, and what makes us happy. We have more resources now than we had as a little child. We have more choices, and we can change if we want to. The only question you need to answer for yourself is, do you want to continue to see victims or predators everywhere? Is the world really as black and white? Or do you want to become someone who takes responsibility for their way of behaving? Someone who creates a better, more fulfilling and happier life. We all experience difficult emotions, moods, moments, and times in our life where we feel sadness, anger, frustration, fear, guilt, shame, and so on. But all those things are inside of us, and we can work with and through those emotions or times. It is us that can do something about it to make it better. And we can also change certain things that are happening outside of us. For example, when others try to hurt us in some way, shape, or form, we can learn to set boundaries. We can learn to say no, and we can learn to step away. We can choose who we want to be with. And we can also ask for support and don't have to go through it alone. But when we start with us, with our own internal experience, we can become our own personal Yoda, wise and powerful. We can look at ourselves and find out where we still find ourselves wounded and hurt, where we still feel unclear about what we want or what we need, where we still feel shame and guilt and fear, where we feel insecure, doubtful, or overly critical of ourselves. Other people can become a great catalyst for self-awareness. So let's say you are treated unfairly. Someone hurts you deliberately, or maybe not so much deliberately. Or you feel someone is treating you in that way, being disrespectful, devaluing, and ugly to you. Something happens inside of us. We feel as if a wound is reopened. And becoming aware of what it is that happens inside of us then can lead us to great recovery from old wounds, past hurts, and personal demons. We become aware of the sensations, emotions, and thoughts we have, and we can find ways to deal with them, transform them, and grow out of them. Here's the challenge though. The challenge is not to buy into all of those thoughts and feelings and stay hurt and beaten down. This can be really difficult, but it is rewarding at the end when you realize, okay, here are those thoughts that I have, and I feel this way, and this is because of X, Y, and Z, and I don't have to buy into this anymore. It is just that, a thought creating a feeling, or a familiar feeling triggering old thoughts. Our brain translates and interprets the outside world to match patterns on the inside, mostly old patterns, outdated patterns. But our brain is willing to learn and change all the time. Nothing we once thought to be true is written in stone. In other words, when we become aware that because X, Y, or Z happens, and we think or feel a certain way as a result of it, but it doesn't make it true, then we struck gold. We rewire our neural pathways in different ways than we are used to. That is our power. So one day you can receive the same signal, the same trigger, that has made you feel inferior, insecure, or shameful in the past, and you realize, wow, that doesn't hurt any longer. And imagine what else will change in your life as a result of this. Imagine you have always attracted the same kind of partner in the past. Then you have healed your own past hurt, your heart, you rewired your brain, you are more aware and loving with yourself. In those samey partners, they won't be attracted to you anymore. And you wouldn't be attracted to them neither. Because there is no pattern match left. Your world has changed. You got your power back. And this is my wish for you. I wish you be in your own power, in your own natural confidence, feeling grounded, feeling at peace, being loving and kind to yourself. And then we don't need to divide the world into predators and victims anymore. It's just not that black and white to begin with. And when we are our own Yoda, wise and powerful, imagine. So I hope I got my point across in this video, and I hope it was useful for you. And if it was, please leave a like, share it with others, and subscribe to this channel, hitting that bell to stay updated about new uploads. And I leave it at that. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.